Hi guys, my name's Lauren Behn.
And I'm Julian Gamboa Barrera.
And this is Rewriting the Narrative. And this episode, we are taking a critical look at how Muslim representation looks in film and TV. So the first film that we looked at, really the only film, was the documentary An Act of Worship, directed by Nausheen Dadabhoy in 2023. And
oh, that's recent. I didn't realize it was that recent.
Yes. It was told through the lens of Muslims living in the United States, and it offered a counter-narrative of pivotal moments in the United States history and explore the impact of the anti-Muslim rhetoric that was happening after 9/11.
They cover a lot of the various acts of terrorism we've had in this country for the last 20 years. But they talked about the Boston Marathon. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they talked about 9/11, they talked about the Gulf War. They talked about a few other ones that I've never even heard of. Apparently, something happened in Oklahoma City.
Honestly, I vaguely knew about a lot of the events that they talked about, but never through the lens of how it affected, like, Muslim Americans.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
They showcased a lot of Muslim women in the film. Aber's father was deported when she was 16, and now she's a community organizer leading a sanctuary city initiative in New York. And then it also highlights Khadega, and she's an 18-year-old Sudanese immigrant living in Michigan. And she talks about the intersectionality of being an African, Black woman in America who's also a Muslim.
Black African American, Middle Eastern, I didn't know which one to pick. They try to tell me that I must fit into the African American box because I'm an angry Black woman.
Not everyone who's Muslim is Arab.
Yeah.
So
it's very broad because, I mean, again, that religion is like half the planet at this point. So it's like so many different types of people. Mm-hmm. So it's not just one, but people always group
them all together.
Because of course they do. That's what people do. But
so Amina, well, first of all, she's a mother and a lawyer, so she has a lot on her plate.
I remember she talks a lot about having to balance like her sense of duty to help immigrants, but also being a mother at the same time.
During the film, we see her try to balance out, being a mother of 3 young children and then also sacrificing so much time to fight for a change that she really believes in.
Yeah. You gotta respect her for that, for sure.
But then even Aber, who is trying to help figure out how to get her father to the States for her wedding, like, it's put so much on her through the process because she's the one who's
in the States,
who is like more fluent and has like people to call on this side, whereas her dad's just kind of like, at least he's portrayed as waiting until someone tells her anything.
Yeah, and he's really nice about it when they find out. Like a spoiler, if they find out he can't come, they still won't let him back in. So he's just like, oh, we'll figure something out, we'll FaceTime it.
I didn't want to go to this subject because it's touched my heart that Abby's dad is not here with us in this moment. And this is very, very special moment for him. And for
I mean, as an Hispanic, I've seen that happen plenty of times. That whole immigration thing ruins families and stuff like that, and that's a case. Good case study of how that doesn't happen to just Hispanics. So I mean, every group of people gets it if you're an immigrant. So I know there's like that one scene at the wedding where she's like, so my dad couldn't make it, unfortunately, so instead I'll have my whole family dance with me instead of the father-daughter dance.
We're gonna play a song right now. Since my dad couldn't be here, it was a song that that played at my mom and dad's wedding. It's called Jibin Majuz Ya Abud. And so I'm inviting my family to join me to dance in place of my father. Hit it.
One thing I really liked was how they mentioned things in chronological order and I guess like the growing grudge that the United States started to have against Muslims in America. And then especially taking into consideration the verbiage and the attitudes that our own government officials were taking and how that affected how accepting people were of these ideologies that, well, if the president says
this, then why should
The terrorists are traitors to their own faith, trying in effect to hijack Islam itself. The enemy of America is not our many Muslim friends. It is not our many Arab friends. Our enemy is a radical network of terrorists and every government that supports them.
Speaking of, I thought it was crazy because they show a clip of Bush signing the Patriot Act, which messed a lot of things up in this country. But I never thought about how that affected Muslim Americans, you know what I mean? Because, that affected everyone, but obviously Muslim Americans are going to feel it the hardest because that was low-key kind of directed at them, so. Which I'm pretty sure they still use the Patriot Act, don't they?
Although the act expired in March of 2020 without being reauthorized, federal law enforcement agencies retain most of the authorities granted by the act.
Nice. So basically. But yeah, to get back on track, talking about the film, they bring up all that history and stuff, and seeing it from that perspective is weird. I don't know why I never considered the Muslim American perspective and all that history. Only my perspective, which I guess makes sense for humans.
So even though this film doesn't directly talk about film and television, it's more of like a real life example of how these different historical events impacted Muslim Americans. I want to talk a little bit about representation. Before we get into the revision, an article I read says Muslim men are often typecast as violent while women are portrayed as oppressed. Especially after 9/11, directors often cast Muslims in roles related to war and terrorism, reducing their identities to politics and religion.
I promise, I swear, I read different articles, and mine said like literally the exact same thing, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, like what the statistic is like, Muslims make up like a certain percent of the population, and they're only in like, was it 10% or less?
2%.
2%, yeah, it was a pretty low number.
Yeah, the HuffPost found that fewer than 2% of movie characters are Muslim.
Yeah, and then even less of those are like actual, like they're those stereotypes you mentioned. Because I read a lot about those stereotypes too.
Yep.
Since we watched those two things and we read these articles, I've seen like other Muslim representation, and it's kind of crazy because all the other ones I have seen, it was a woman and she didn't want to have her hijab on anymore, and when she hated it.
Yes.
And I'm like realizing like, oh yeah, you're totally right. Like every single representation of it is like, oh, we're oppressed and we hate this. We don't want to be like this. We want to be more white.
There's already so much tension when it comes to like war and then public relations. I think the film and TV during the time and even now like reflects that.
Yeah, a little bit.
It brought up a good point of how can you properly represent a group of people if you alienate them? Yeah.
I think they talk about that too in the doc. I might be making this up in my head, but like they talk about how like if you actually look at their like values and stuff, like they're like the Quran talks about peace and stuff, because they have multiple scenes of them praying and talking about what they actually believe in. And it's like, it's so stupid that Americans think this of us because we just like preach peace and love and community and stuff like that. Like we have the exact same good values as you. Should we move on to the revision? Because I feel like you have plenty to sift through now. I guess we should introduce it. I guess We Are Lady Parts is a British show, a British in it, about 4 Muslim girls who are kind of tired of the system and everything and getting mistreated. And one of them is like the main character is very shy, and they're just a band called Lady Parts, and that's why it's called We Are Lady Parts.
And it's like a heavy rock band.
It's like a punk band. It's a punk band.
It's very British.
Oh, it is very British. That is one thing. And their accents are hilarious, and I do not feel bad saying that, and I will never feel bad saying that.
They're British accents.
Yeah. Just to be clear. The type of writing, sometimes I find, I don't know, maybe just because it's directed more towards women, I feel like, that type of writing. But sometimes I feel like it's a little on the nose, but it again, the characters are likable. All of them are. How one of them, their hijab is completely, you can only see their eyes. I'm assuming that has a different name. I've never seen that before. But yeah, you only see her eyes. She's pretty cool. She'll like smoke, and then the smoke will come out of her I don't know what you call that. Is it different than a hijab?
The term burqa is sometimes conflated with the niqab, even though in more precise usage, the niqab is a face veil that leaves the eyes uncovered, while a burqa covers the entire body from the top of the head to the ground, with a mesh screen which only allows the wearer to see in front of her.
I see. So, the niqab. Well, she smokes through it. Like, she'll smoke, and then the smoke will come through it, and they'll do close-up shots, and it looks really badass.
Some say she did time inside for arson. Others that she divorced some sheikh. No one really knows.
And then I guess some of them do take off their hijab sometimes.
When they're at home.
Yeah, they're at home. But like again, they don't really bring it up. It's not like a focus at all. So Because like I didn't know that existed. I didn't know that was. I mean, I guess maybe I've seen it, but I didn't know
What part?
the niqab.
Oh.
Like I like. Did you know about that?
I did, but that's because of the kite runner. Is that crazy?
I don't know.
It's just like a stricter form of like modesty.
Yeah, I respect that they don't like explain it. Either way, she's the coolest one in the whole group.
What did you think about the show opening with Amina and her family like trying to find her a husband?
I like it because because Amina's our main one.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you introduce her first, and that's the one you're gonna stick with.
Gonna sympathize with her.
Yeah, for sure. So that's a good way, and it's also a relatable thing because I think it's or not a relatable thing, but empathetic thing. You get what I mean? Because like, they're talking about an arranged marriage, and she doesn't really like the guy.
I almost think it's different from like not liking the guy. It's like she really wants to make her parents happy.
Yeah.
Go with this arranged marriage, but she just can't seem to find someone who accepts her for her.
Because, I think that's more what it is.
Yeah, because she's like pretty awkward, kind of quiet.
And she's not your typical like Muslim girl. Because they talk about how like the guy's family is like, oh, do you always wear that? Like, oh, you play guitar? That's kind of weird. Like, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about like modesty, and because she teaches kids guitar, they're like, oh, you perform?
Yeah.
Do you always dress like this? Bright colors and everything?
Oh, no, she's usually much more modest. Why don't you play everyone a song? What?
What? Music is haram.
Is that like a thing that's not... They're supposed. That was the thing I was wondering while watching it, because it seemed pretty. They keep acting like it was pretty taboo for her to play guitar and to perform in front of people.
Yeah, just to perform in front of people, have the attention all on her. I think that's pretty taboo because women are expected to like be very subservient.
Yeah.
And not like want all the attention.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really that. It's just she doesn't seem like the subservient type.
Yeah. I will say though, no offense, the band. Not very good.
All right, Simon Cowell. Mumtaz is the one that has like the full face cover.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And she is the band manager.
That's right.
But she works at a lingerie store. She was the one that was helping that lady.
Oh, that's
pick out
right.
a bra.
Yeah, because she was like, "Do you want the sexual one, or do you want like the one that'll turn them on?" And she's like, "The one that turn them on."
And what sort of bra are you looking for? We got recreational, titillational, factual, respectful. Shag me kindly, shag me hard.
Shag me kindly.
Excellent choice.
I don't know if I'm thinking too hard about it, but I'm almost like, because she's the most covered up, are they trying to...
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that, yeah.
Are they trying to, like, make up for that and making her the most, like, vulgar?
Yeah.
Because she is the one that we see smoking and works at a lingerie store. Like, that's very extreme.
Yeah, I didn't think of that at all. I wouldn't be surprised. That seems a little too on purpose.
I just want to see more of, like, their dynamic and, like,
sure,
see... Because you can tell that they're all, like, very, not flawed, but, like, maybe misguided.
They're very angry.
Yes, which, like...
Well, fair.
Yeah, they're very angry, but also, like, they're allowed to be.
Yeah, that's 100% fair.
I mean, it's a show. Like, it's meant to further the plot.
Yeah.
Create...
That's the thing I keep talking about with my partner every time we see, or just people in general, when I see a comedy thing. Usually, in a comedy... The characters are pieces of shit, because otherwise there's
nothing's gonna happen.
There's no comedy if they're not acting, because that's what's funny.
And they're not perfect characters either, because if they were perfect right off the bat,
then what's the point of watching?
There's no development.
That's what you're there for. Overall, though, last thing I want to say, just to prove the show does a really good job of making all these Muslim women humans.
Yeah.
Never mind the fact that they're just Muslim. I feel like it's good women writing for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we brought up Islam a bit, but I feel like we talked more about them as people rather than just their identity, which I think is a good sign.
Their character.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good sign. And good female representation, good Muslim representation.
But I think it also does a good job of incorporating how their lives look as Muslim women, because like one of them works at a halal restaurant.
Yeah.
One of them is trying to, have an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that was a good revision?
Oh yeah, I feel like, 'cause, I mean, they're humans. Like I said, they're characters. We talked more about their merits as people. I still, it made me like the characters more, even the ones who are a little more standoffish. They make them human. They're relatable.
All right, thank you guys so much for listening to our critical look at Muslim representation in film and television. Bye.
Bye. Ciao.